What's up, everybody? I'm Clint Grover with Never Done Industries, and today we're going to switch it up a little bit. Instead of doing these heavily produced, tons of time shooting, scripted videos that we normally do, we're just going to kind of keep it real with you, and I'm going to share some of my stories. I'm going to share some of the ways that some of the different vehicles that I've got have come into my life, some of the different things that we've done with those vehicles that maybe you haven't seen or heard of. And kind of give you a real behind the scenes of what life is actually like for us here at Never Done. Alright, so I'm going to start by addressing the thing that you're already looking at, which is my face. If you notice, I'm all scratched all to hell under my eye and my eyebrow and all that stuff, so I guess that'll be the first story I tell you. Last night I made the decision to pick up a cat in the air like this, and in my infinite wisdom I decided that that cat needed a raspberry on its stomach, like what you do to a kid. You know, you put your mouth on their belly and you blow and it makes the noise. Cats don't like that shit, and that's what happened. So don't do that. Now that we've gotten that out of the way, let's go ahead and move forward to something a little bit more relevant to the automotive world and to what it is that we do, and that is cars. And I think what we're going to do is we're going to do kind of a series. I'm going to talk about all the different cars, how I got them, you know, where they came from, maybe what stories are associated with getting them, what stories are associated after we actually got them, some of the stupid shit that I've done in them, you know, that kind of a deal, and hopefully give you guys a bigger picture of this whole Never Done thing we're working on. Alright, so I guess the best place to start here is with the Never Done Alero. That's really kind of the one that, well, that is the one that started Never Done. That's where this whole thing came from, was from that silly Alero. What the deal is on it is, it's not my first car, but what the story was on it is I was in college. My first car, and still my favorite car, I'll never get rid of that car, it's an 83 Lincoln Town Car. Anyway, what the deal was is that the Lincoln was getting to the point where it was high on miles. It was starting to have some issues, you know, it's burning oil, the transmission's starting to slip, that kind of thing. And it was time to find something that was a little bit more reliable. You know, I didn't want to beat on the Lincoln anymore. I didn't have the money to be able to put a new motor and all that kind of stuff in it at the time, and I didn't really have the time either. I needed something to drive, you know, the 30-minute commute to college. And so what I did is I instead of going and looking at all the different cars, now keep in mind I wasn't really a car guy at this point, okay? I'm 18, 19 years old. I mean, I liked them, but I was really more into the lowriders. I was into the big stereo systems, you know. I was more into that scene, you know, not into the performance and not into all that stuff. I didn't really care at that point. And so anyway, instead of going and doing a bunch of research and finding exactly the car I wanted and all that sort of thing, instead what I decided to do is I decided to rely on the wealth of knowledge that I had gained from watching the first Fast and Furious movie, which impacted me hugely, by the way, as it probably did many of you. And I decided that I wanted to have a car that was fuel efficient, and it had to be a manual transmission, and because I thought those were faster, and I knew you could do burnouts in them because one of my buddies had one. And it had to have the modern curves. At the time, that was the big deal, was the cars were bubbly and curvy instead of big square boxes like the old stuff, like what I had. So anyway, I thought, well, as long as I get something with a manual transmission that gets pretty good mileage that I can do burnouts in, and I can put clear taillights in it, then man, I'll be set. And at that time, I didn't realize that just because you have a newer car that's bubbly, you can't necessarily get clear taillights for it. So now I don't really care. You know, that obviously has had its course. But at the time, that was kind of a big deal to me because those were the cool thing to have. So anyway, so I go down to the car lot. I go down to one car lot, and I'm looking around. It's a Mercedes dealership, of all things. Like an idiot college kid, you know, I didn't have any idea what I was doing or what I was looking for. So I go down to one dealership, and I say, all right, I'm looking for an inexpensive car with a manual transmission that gets good mileage. What have you got? And they showed me a 2000 or a 2001 Kia Rio. Now, I'm not going to hate on anything here, but I will tell you that the Kia Rio is not the car for Clint Grover. It looks like a marshmallow, kind of. It's a little bubbly Jetsons car sort of deal, you know, kind of thing. Anyway, I went and drove it, and I thought, okay, that'll work fine. It's modern, it's bubbly, it gets good mileage, and it's got a manual transmission. However, thankfully, the guy at the car lot, the salesman, he knew that that wasn't going to satisfy, you know, my desires to be a cool guy. And so he said, before you go, come over here and take a look at this Oldsmobile that I've got. And I thought, Oldsmobile? I don't care about Oldsmobile. As I was thinking the old, you know, muscle cars, and I'm a Ford guy, and so I'm thinking I don't care about Oldsmobile. So anyway, I go over there and I'm walking along, and I'm looking at it from the back, and I see this little red, it looked like a little red sports car, you know, it's sitting next to all these other cars that were obviously Oldsmobiles, you know, they were kind of grandma looking grocery getter deals. And then there's this little two-door, you know, kind of sporty looking red car sitting in the middle. And that's the one he's showing me, and I'm thinking, holy cow, that thing's freaking cool. But I can't afford that, you know, I'm broke, you know, I'm going to college, I don't have any money, and I'll check it out. I'll see what the story is on it. So we get over there, we get checking it out, and I look inside, and sure enough, it has a manual transmission, and it's got a way bigger motor than that Kia Rio, you know, a lot more power, and I mean, we're still talking about a 4-cylinder here, but, you know, all things in proportion. So he says, well, why don't you go take it for a drive? Because he's a good salesman and he knew what he was doing. He says, why don't you go take this thing for a drive? So I say, okay, well, the only manual transmissions that I had ever actually driven were the old farm trucks, okay? And so there's a big difference between an old farm truck with a slippy clutch, totally different setup, than there is, you know, from a more modern car with, you know, the really tight tolerances and everything's new and nothing's worn out and all that stuff. Anyway, so the first thing that I noticed when I was driving this Alero, which I thought was awesome, by the way, is as I'm pulling out, I'm stalling the damn thing, you know, and doing that shit. And I was thinking, man, I feel stupid. You know, all these people are looking at me, and I'm over here stalling this freaking car out, kissing the dash and banking my head off the seat and stuff. And so I decided, all right, well, I gotta do something pretty quick because I look like a fool, you know. And so I decided, well, if I wrap it up a little bit higher and unload the clutch, it won't stall out on me. And so I started doing that, and you know, and I got a thing going, and I felt pretty cool, you know. I was trying to make it look like I had intended to do the little, wasn't even a burnout, like a tire squeak. And so I pull out on the street, and I get cruising down the road, and there's, you know, traffic, well, Idaho traffic, you know, some of you guys in Texas and California where a lot of our viewers are, that's nothing compared to what you guys have for traffic, but Idaho traffic. So we pull out there, and I get out on the road, I hammer that thing down. Man, that baby took off. Compared to that Kia, it was a damn hot rod. And I grab another gear, I'm hauling ass all over the place, and it's freaking awesome. And I fall in love with the car, and I think, hell yes, this is the car for me. And so I go mess around a little bit, and I get back, and the car was brand new. It was a 2001 Oldsmobile Alero GX, which is the base trim model. It doesn't have leather, sunroof, anything cool. In fact, it has manual windows. I don't even know if they do those anymore, but it didn't have electric windows in it. So anyway, so we get back to the dealership there, and I tell him, I'm like, all right, man, that's the one I want. What do we got to do? So he gets looking, and I had a little bit of money to put down and stuff, and he comes back, and sure enough, the price was good. And I was going to be able to afford the payment. And so I thought, awesome, let's go ahead and do it. So I signed the papers, everything's ready to go. And now the car had 38 miles on it when I bought it. And my parents were with me, and they had just bought a few months before that, they had just bought a brand new Mercedes, the M-Class, the little SUV. And that was when those things, were brand new, and that was pretty slick then. And so it was cool that I was there with them in that thing, And so I'm rolling out of there in my brand new car, and they're right behind me in the brand new Mercedes, and I'm thinking, man, this is cool, I'm feeling pretty cool. So we go pulling out of there, and I shit you not, less than 1 mile away, there is the first stoplight, okay? We pull to the first stoplight. I'm in the front. I'm right in front of the light. I got my little sister with me, Casey, and my parents are behind me in the Mercedes, and I'm sitting there and I'm feeling so cool. The light changes, and sure as shit, and I freaking stall the damn thing. Well, my parents didn't realize that I had stalled it, okay? I've owned this car for a grand total of maybe 3 minutes. Boom! Rear end me, my brand new freaking car and their brand new freaking car. We've already gotten in an accident. You can still see the dealership from where we're at. Fast forward several years, several more accidents. That car has been in 10 accidents to date. 0 of them have been my fault. Most of them have been hit and runs when it was parked somewhere. Anyway, that car has been up, down, around. It's been through hell and back. And that includes all the things that I have done to it. I'm a customizer by nature. And so when I got that new car, home, I was really excited about it, but I thought I could make it better. And so the first thing I did is I got looking around and seeing what some of the other guys were doing, and I noticed that at the time the trend there was to paint your interior panels. And so you pull the little vents out and you'd paint those, and then the little bezel around the radio, you'd pull that out and paint that. The bezel around your gauges, you'd pull that out, paint it. And then around the door handles, anything that was plastic that would come out, everybody was painting that. That was like the tuner thing to do, right? And so that was the first thing I did. I started doing that shit within 2 weeks. 2 weeks after I buy this brand new car, and actually, I guess it was a little bit longer than that. It was longer than 2 weeks because I had to wait for it to get fixed after the rear end thing. All that did is mess up my bumper, by the way. They put a new bumper on it, painted it, everything was cool. So anyway, 2 weeks after I had gotten it back from there, I start pulling the thing apart and start doing that kind of thing to it. And since then, I've done so many different things. That car's been pulled apart a million different times. It's on its 5th transmission. Because I used to street race it all the freaking time. All through college, I street raced. Every single Friday and Saturday night, I'd go out and I'd get in at least freaking 5 races. I'd be racing Hondas and Acuras and, mostly the import cars. That was kind of the guys that we'd go against because, let's be real, a Mustang GT or a Z28 Camaro was going to smoke my ass in that little 4-banger. But, since then, there's been a lot of different things that have happened to it. I've got, since I've built a hood for it, it's a hood that we're actually going to be producing again before too long. I'm not going to get into any details on that one, but it's got a custom fiberglass hood. It's got a custom fiberglass bumper on it. Currently, it has a Rust-Oleum paint job on it. What the story is on that, it's the 2-tone paint job. It's got the flat black on top, flat white on the bottom, and then it's got a red pinstripe around it. The car was originally red, and I was trying to kind of step up its game a little bit for a photo shoot we were doing for a calendar. And what the deal is on that there is I had a calendar shoot coming up in 2 weeks. The car looked like crap. We didn't have enough cars for the shoot, and I needed something. Well, there's the Alero. The Alero's always been there, it's always kind of been the backup plan. And I didn't have any money, and I didn't have any time. And so I thought, well, I've got a paint gun, and I had like 40 or 50 bucks or something I could blow. And so I went down to Home Depot. I bought a couple of cans of the Rust-Oleum, not the freaking aerosol stuff. I'm talking about the stuff that you're supposed to roll on. And so I go and I get the Rust-Oleum paint and some acetone. And I'm in there and I'm freaking thinning that shit out. And then sure enough, I got it to spray. It sprays like shit, by the way. Don't try it. But I got it to spray out. And I liked that. I liked the flat thing, and so I did the little two-tone. My buddy Quint, he let me use his shop and help me out, help me tape it and everything. He's a lot better at that than I am. And so I mean, really all I had to do was look okay for the photos. And so I didn't prep it well enough. I did not do the body work well. Everything was totally last minute, totally damn near zero budget, super low budget. And you know what, we got it done, and we did it in like 2 or 3 days, the whole thing. And then we got it to the shoot, and we took the pictures, and we didn't even use the damn pictures. That's the freaking funny part of the whole deal, is that we ended up having enough cars show up. We didn't even need the stupid pictures. And so ever since then, the car has been running around with this crappy ass freaking flaking off paint job. It's kind of embarrassing to drive. I don't really like it, but that's what it is, until I've got the time and that to put a decent paint job on it. So that's kind of where the paint job from the Alero came from, and why it looks like hell if you've seen it in person. It looks okay in pictures still, but that takes a lot of Photoshop work and a lot of time and stuff. The reality of it is it's a totally crappy, cheap paint job. If you have to have a paint job and you don't have any money, then that's an option that you can do. But I wouldn't recommend it. It's not automotive paint, and it doesn't look good at all. So anyway, that's kind of the story about how the Alero came to be, and a little bit about it. Over the years I've done different things to it. I put a spec stage 3 clutch in it, which is way, way, way too stiff. When you push down on the clutch all the way, normally on a clutch, you go all the way to the floor, and right about here it starts engaging. Not the Alero. You go all the way to the floor, you come up, nothing, bang, there it is right there, everything. Sucks ass to try to drive it, anywhere that's got hills and things like that. Super easy to stall it, all that kind of stuff, but you don't get any slippage or anything. I mean, that thing hooks up and goes pretty good with that clutch in it. So I did that. I put some 18s on it, some Quantum Tech S10s, and I painted them like shit, just like the rest of the car. It's got the iBot Pro Kit suspension on it. I've had a bunch of different suspensions on it over the years, but that one's actually a decent one. The other ones were kind of homemade crappy deals, because I didn't have any money. It's got an aluminum wing on it that's going to come off. That was an eBay thing back in the early 2000s tuner days. That was a cool thing. And then it's got a Hayama exhaust on it, just the muffler, and then I just had a muffler shop welded on. It's a stainless exhaust. It actually sounds pretty cool for a four banger. It's really got a deep note and stuff. And then it's got a 4-to-1 header. It's a ceramic coated header. I think it was FT Force was the name of the company. I don't remember for sure. But I think they've gone out of business since. I haven't been able to find them. And then I put it had header wrap on it. I took that stuff off because I heard it would crack your headers. I don't know if it really does or not. And then it goes through all kinds of different cold air intake systems. It just kind of depends on what I'm trying to do. I've tried to do little homemade ram air setups. I've run an Iceman intake on it. They're really a warm air. They're not really a cool air system because they draw their air in from under the hood. And I guess that's pretty much it. It's got some ignition upgrades. It's got a hydrogen unit on it. That's not something I'm going to talk about. That's a whole different bucket of worms there. But it's basically consider it like a level 1 little tuner car. It's got a couple little things on it. It's nothing crazy. It's nothing super cool, but it is the thing that started this business. This business started because I knew how to fiberglass, and I had a desire to build parts that I thought were better looking and better quality. And I happened to have an Oldsmobile Alero that I was more than willing to tear apart and try to build new parts for. And so that's how Never Done started. It started in a tent in my backyard, ripping the damn Alero apart, trying to make improved parts, that I thought were cooler looking and were made higher quality instead of that cheap Chinese shit that you can get on eBay. I guess that's kind of the story of the Alero. So thank you for watching, and stay tuned for more episodes. We'll talk about some of the different cars, some of the different experiences, that kind of stuff. Please subscribe to our channel so that you can stay up to date, so that you can, catch me on the other videos. Also, take a look at our website, www.neverdoneusa.com. We have a whole bunch of different stuff on there, not only merchandise, but we also have, our videos and our there's a lot of things on there that you can learn about. We've got our blog series on there and all kinds of things. And then check out our social media. We've got Facebook, we've got Twitter, we've got Tumblr, we've got, Instagram and all of that stuff. So, again, thank you for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.